As you may have heard me say many times before, out of all the main 4 Sims games, The Sims 3 is my favorite. I don't even know why I specified out of the main 4. It's not like I'm gonna say that Sims Medieval blows The Sims 3 out of the park, but I digress. 3 months ago, I made a video centered around my gameplay rules for The Sims 2, and I asked you guys if I should make gameplay rules about The Sims 3 and The Sims 4, and the response was majorly positive. I don't know if everything I'll be mentioning here today can be described as a rule, but if we all agree to go with a loose definition of the term, it should be fine. Something that I think is extremely important to mention is that the nature of the game and its differences with The Sims 2 means I obviously play both of those games in very different ways. If you expected me to do rotational gameplay in The Sims 3, you're out of your gourd. You gotta get that gourd checked. But seriously, just the fact that you can load into Sunset Valley and delete every single family to make your own ones without fucking up the game means that I've done that many times. I remember my sister watching me make families for hours with that little inquisitive brow up on her face like, "Girl, what are you doing it all for?" And me answering something like, it's investment. I'm making beautiful Sims and they will breed thanks to NRAS story progression, and then the kids of my Sims will have good prospects to date and everyone in town will be beautiful. It's a bit fucked up now that I think about it, to be honest. So I guess you could say I'm more of a legacy player in The Sims 3. It's how I've always preferred it, and it's how I'm most comfortable playing. I'm also the most comfortable at doing challenges in The Sims 3 as opposed to Sims 2 or Sims 4, since I know the game pretty much inside and out. I know a lot about The Sims 2 as well, but I also know how limited it is in many aspects for this kind of thing. And to be fully honest, I think despite the hours I have on The Sims 4 and owning all the packs besides Batu and Wedding Stories, I could be considered a Sims 4 noob. I shouldn't even be able to call myself a simmer. Sometimes I'm playing The Sims 4 and I'm like, oh my god, I need to buy supplies to make candles? What the fuck? That's so complicated. I'm just gonna give up, install extreme violence, and kill Ed Sheeran with a chainsaw. I've done that before. Again though, I digress. This is a video about Sims 3 gameplay rules, so let's get into it, shall we? The Sims 3 is the only game out of all the Sims games that is fully open world. That means you can go anywhere without a loading screen. I'm sure you knew that already, but I am nothing if not informational. I need multiple mods to play the game the way I like it, most of them by NRAS Industries. First and most importantly, the story progression mod. It is very similar to the Lazy Duchess story progression mod for The Sims 2 if you're familiar with that, but it'd be weird if you knew more about that one since it's a lot newer, and NRAS mods are basically the 5-star celebrities of Sims 3 mods. I cannot play The Sims 3 anymore without story progression. It has fixed most of the issues I was having with the game prior to installing it, and I have never looked back. I was so annoyed with my family members not moving on with their lives and doing stuff after moving them out of the main household. And it was even ruining my saves for me sometimes. I hated having to change my active households to force things to happen in other houses, only to come back to my legacy house and everyone having lost their saved ones and being juiced for some reason. Why are they always so goddamn juiced? Story progression made me not have to think about that stuff. Is it so incredibly hard to find single or childless people in my towns now? Yes, of course, but so is it in real life when you're older than 30. Like I mentioned previously, I'm a legacy player, which means I usually start by making a couple of young adults who will become my founders. I move them into a house that's pretty nice already because I don't have the time to grind for money or build in this game. You got me fucked up if you think I do. But then the chase starts. The young adults I've made, they're not together, no. They barely know each other, but they live together. So there's tension, obviously. Sometimes it can take the entirety of their young adulthoods until I feel that they're ready to give in to their obviously burning passion. I like to play The Sims 3 in an almost wants-based way. And the reason I say almost is because a lot of wants in The Sims 3 aren't necessarily rare, they're just regulated by time. This is something I've noticed, and I don't know if it's 100% true, so don't quote me on that. But I've seen that most often, if power wants are not affected by traits, they will only appear after a specific amount of time. Your Sims will only get the want to have a baby about 5 days after getting married, unless they get the specific have first child with want, which sometimes appears before the 5 days. It's super fucking specific. I know, but I'm super fucking autistic, and guess what game I was fixated on from ages 12 to now? If you guessed The Sims 3, you win the Katy Perry Sweet Treats pack, so drop your complete home address in the comments for me to send it over to you. But yes, getting back to the wants-based thing, I want my Sims to get wants before I do something, so that often means I have to wait an excruciating amount of time until that go steady with and get engaged to wants appear. The go steady want is hit or miss. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. And the engagement want mostly appears around 7 days into your Sims being steady with someone else. Sometimes they'll get the want to get married before getting engaged, which I think is wanting to get engaged anyway, because one goes with the other. And of course, as mentioned before, this does not include wants motivated by traits. Of course, hopeless romantic Sims are gonna get the want to get married way faster, sometimes when they're not even in a relationship yet, and family-oriented Sims will get the want to have a baby just for fun. Family-oriented Sims are really just like, shoot inside and make it worth my while, So yeah, the main point is I like to create my Sim stories around their wants, so I like to wait for them to roll their wants. Sometimes that takes a long fucking periodically time, but I do it because I love them and their beautiful little faces. I can go wild and completely off script though, if I feel like it serves the story, and I like me some wacky stories. Then I usually have a pretty basic and normal family gameplay type of playstyle when the founders get married and have kids until it's time to choose the heir. I have many criteria while deciding the legacy heir, and they are as follows. Which one gives the most vibes? Which one is the sexiest little minx? And which one looks like they could kill someone and it would be scary, but also kind of hot? That's usually the metrics I use to judge who's the better fit. Once I have my heir, the chase begins. I may try to get them with someone as a teenager, but I mostly reserve that for their poor siblings who weren't cool enough to be the heirs. They're the ones I usually pair with people who are already in the town. For my heir though, I usually wait until they're an adult, a young adult, and make a completely custom sim for them that will randomly move into town on the night of them aging up to a young adult. It's pretty often a race against the clock though, because I need to get to them and snatch them for myself before story progression pairs them up with someone else. And that's always a nice thrill, to be honest. All in all, I don't really have anything super concrete. Sometimes I'll randomize my Sims traits, sometimes I'll choose them manually, sometimes I'll get rid of their midlife crises, sometimes I'll have fun with it, I'll buy them a motorcycle and divorce their wives. You never know with me, I'm a bit wacky, I'm a bit funny. So yeah, I guess the gist of it is that my big rules are 1. Take all the time you need. 2. Play once based, as much as humanly possible. 3. The heir of my legacy must be the epitome of charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. And 4. Get a little wild with it. I don't have any specific rules to stop myself from using game mechanics like reward traits and reward objects, resurrecting Sims, having ghost babies, none of it. I don't try to play The Sims 3 in a realistic way like I do with The Sims 2, and that's not for any deep reason, it's just the way I've gotten used to playing it. There's one very firm rule though that I've taken on quite recently, and it is don't trust that son of a bitch Griffin Alto, don't even go near him. So I guess now the big unanswered question from my video title is, why do I play it so differently from the way I play The Sims 2? Or even The Sims 4? Well, because I don't get tired of playing it this way. If I could play The Sims 2 the same way without getting bored, I would. but I prefer playing The Sims 2 rotationally because I want to be in control of everything. In The Sims 3, I only want to control my family and have everything around me happen on its own, kind of like a tornado, and I'm in the center of it, completely oblivious to what's happening. I love that the game and the mods allow me to do that. It might be a fun experiment actually to try playing The Sims 2 in that same way with the story progression mod. That might be an experiment I try to do for a video. The way I play The Sims 4 is a whole other can of worms. I don't even want to mention it today. You'll have to tune in another day to hear how convoluted I need to make shit so that the game is at all appealing to me. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in and listening to me ramble for probably way too long. I love you and I care about you. Please follow me on all of my social medias. They will be linked down below, as well as my Ko-fi if that is something that could interest you, and the Discord server if you would wish to join. Sleep tight, don't let the Bud Light bite. Ciao!